All right, we're down here at the Kettler Capitals Ice Arena, beautiful facility, Arlington, Virginia, with head coach Larry Courville of the Reading Royals. Looking pretty good in red right now, Larry. Obviously, big announcement today for the Royals. New affiliation arrangement, Washington Capitals, Hershey Bears. You look pretty excited, I imagine you are.
Well, no, I'm very excited to work with both organizations. They're both first-class organizations. They've got a winning attitude, and I've worked closely with George McPhee when I was in Vancouver as a player, and Doug Inks. I also played there in Hershey, so I'm very happy to be with them, and I think it's going to be a lot of success here in Reading.
Obviously, the reason we're here today at Kettler Capitals Ice Complex is there's a prospects camp going on. It's a week-long camp. A bunch of young players out here for the Washington Capitals. Some under NHL contract. Some guys freshly drafted, including their #1 draft pick this year. Philip Forsberg is here. A lot of the goaltenders here. It's probably too early to tell, but are we looking at right now here on the ice today some potential Royals for this season?
I would assume there's some possibilities. Most of the kids that are here, like you said, were just drafted this season, so they're too young. Most of them are too young to play professional hockey, with the Reading. But there is some college free agents that are here. There's some contracted players from Hershey who've signed American League contracts who can maybe possibly come our way. I know Washington and Hershey have signed some excellent players who've played in our league in the past and promoted and played in the NHL. If you look in the last couple of years in their goaltending, Brendan Holtby, who was, they're basically their starting goalie this year in Washington for the playoffs and played extremely well, who started in the East Coast. Also Michael Newverth, who's played exceptionally well in all three levels, who won a Calder Cup in Hershey in his second season and plays now basically #1 in Washington. He's been going back and forth with some injuries, and Brendan stepped in last year. But they've produced some quality goaltenders, quality players in the past, and hopefully that translates to some players coming to Reading and being successful.
Obviously, you've already mentioned it. You played in Hershey. You know Doug Inks very well. Hershey right up the road. One of the issues always with American Hockey League teams is moving guys around and getting guys at the right place at the right moment. It seems like, geographically speaking, that Hershey is the perfect fit for the Royals.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I think it's going to work out for the hockey operations for not only for Washington and Hershey, but I think for us too. And for some, in the American Hockey League, on their rosters, they carry a lot of bodies, and unfortunately, some of those guys can't play. So, and with us only being less than an hour away, let's bring it. Let's send a kid down to Reading. Let's develop this kid. Let's make sure he's playing some games, and hopefully we'll get those guys that they need to develop and have them in games.
Conversely, for players that you're recruiting under ECHL contract, it seems to me, if I were a player, I'd want that relationship in Hershey and ultimately in Washington as close by, teams that can get a look at me, teams that might give me an opportunity to play at the American League or even National League level.
Well, it's been, in the last few years, it's sometimes tough to get, with Boston and Toronto the last 4 or 5 years we've been together. Sometimes it's hard for them to travel and make those commitments to come to Reading and see their players develop, and also see our guys under ECHL contracts and see if they would fit in with their American League clubs. So with us being so close to Hershey, it's easy for Doug and the NHL brass to come down and watch their players, but also see some of the guys that we've signed and hopefully develop them and get them to the American Hockey League and someday maybe to the NHL.
You've mentioned goaltending already. Michael Neuwirth, Braden Holtby last year in the NHL playoffs really was a principal reason that Washington was so successful. Obviously, we're looking at a couple young kids today. One kid stood out. Braden Anderson played in the Western League last year. He looks like a guy that's at some point, we might see in the purple, silver, black, and white for the Royals.
I would assume there's a possibility. Who knows? He has to prove himself and earn that job, and through the AHL ranks, and possibly Hershey if he has to go to Hershey, and maybe us. I'm not sure how many goalies right now they're in their system. With free agency, they may sign a goaltender, who knows, but we're expecting to get a goaltender from Washington, and I'm not sure about a second goaltender, but we've committed to a goaltending position, and hopefully we have a great one that comes.
Don't want to presume too much and don't want to put too much on the Washington Capitals here, but it's no secret that the Boston Bruins, a former affiliate of the Royals, have won the Stanley Cup. Los Angeles Kings, former affiliate of the Royals, win the Stanley Cup. Is Washington next this year? Is the Stanley Cup going to be held by the red of the Washington Capitals at the end of the 2012-2013 season?
Well, I definitely hope so. I definitely believe that they have the talent. They were very successful last year, and with a new coaching change early in the season, that brought them a long way, and hopefully they've gained some experience from the playoff experience that they had this year, and they build on that and hopefully bring the cup home.
What's Adam Oates like?
He's been great. I met him here today for the first time. He's he's professional, works hard, and he's giving me little points here and there, and I'm looking forward to working with him this year.
We look great in red, Larry Courville. Who knows, someday we may be down here interviewing you as the head coach of the Washington Capitals.
Hopefully someday. Thanks, Mark.
Mark Thompson here at the Kettler Capitals Washington Ice Arena, Arlington, Virginia, with Mark French, head coach of the Hershey Bears. And Mark, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
No problem.
Well, Coach, obviously a new affiliation arrangement announced today between the Royals along with the Washington Capitals and, of course, your Hershey Bears, the American League affiliate. Very exciting, I know, from Reading's perspective. And let me say how excited we are to be a part of the Hershey organization as well.
Yeah, it always seemed to make a lot of sense. South Carolina was great. We were able to, on our 2 Calder Cup wins, really relied on them. But, in talking with Doug Yingst and knowing that this was probably going to come to fruition, it makes a lot of sense, and it really ties up this local area with Washington being close and then Hershey and the proximity to Reading. We're a real tight-knit unit. You take some travel out of the equation.
Well, I know we were always on the wrong side of the equation when Hershey and South Carolina got together. As a matter of fact, when South Carolina came to Reading is when we seemed to experience a lot of Hershey Bears in the lineup. And I suppose that's what we're hoping for from Reading's perspective, is this opportunity, the geographic proximity between Reading and Hershey, and the opportunity to get players ice time in Reading and Hershey.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. When you take away the travel, I think the ability to, if we weren't going to use a player on a specific weekend, to get them to Reading to play some games, and to even for us to keep tighter tabs on some of our prospects, the ability to come down to Reading on off nights to be able to watch them, again, it seems to make a lot of sense.
One of the things that we've experienced when South Carolina was affiliated with Hershey was goaltending, great goaltendings. Michael Neuwirth, Braden Holtby, Philip Grubauer, you name it. We saw it. They were very good. It's one thing, it seems, that Washington, Hershey, deep in goaltending.
Yeah, no, we've had the luxury of having some outstanding goaltending and a lot of depth with that position. I think Brandon Anderson's a guy that is out here today, a guy that we've had the opportunity to see in Hershey at the end of the seasons. I think he's a guy that's probably slated for Reading. He's a very competitive goalie, not unlike Braden Holtby and his skill set. So I think he's one guy that the Reading fans will look forward to seeing in the net.
I know it's not so much your bailiwick, but still from a business perspective, it seems to make sense as well, Reading and Hershey getting together. The crossover between the fans. We used to see Hershey Bear fans coming into the Sovereign Center rooting for the South Carolina Stingrays.
Right.
Now, hopefully, they'll be rooting for the Reading Royals, and vice versa. We'll send some fans your way as well.
Well, it's funny, when you go up into the stands and interact with our fans in Hershey, you see a lot of Reading jerseys, Reading Royal jerseys in the stands. You see a lot of fans who make the trek down to Reading when we were on an off night or whatnot. So I think there'll be a lot of crossover fans with the short travel.
And obviously, the Bears have had tremendous success, including a Calder Cup championship in 2010 when you were coaching there. I'm presuming, and I know there's very early, first opportunity to get back on the ice for the 2012-2013 season, but I'm presuming success in Hershey is once again the goal.
Yeah, no, we'll be looking to hoist the Calder Cup again. I think the one real nice thing about the Washington organization as a whole is they put a premium on that winning is a big part of development. And we're the benefit of that, and Reading should be the benefit of that. They want to sign players, and they want their ECHL affiliate, their American League affiliate, to be successful because they think it breeds the right type of players to be able to develop and come up here. The philosophy has worked well, and I expect it to carry forward.
We've seen a number of Hershey players play in Washington as well, be a very important part of very good teams for the Capitals.
Yeah, no, they've shown, and I think the way the NHL is now, you have to develop within your system. And they've shown that worked. We've had the ability to work with some great players who've turned into some very good NHL players.
Well, Mark, not very many people know it because it happened so quickly, but you were formerly a member of the Reading Royals organization. I think we've agreed it lasted about a week when you were there, when Carl Terrell was there, going to be an assistant. The next thing we know, where'd that guy go? Oh, he's only the assistant up in Hershey and now the head coach in Hershey.
Yeah, no, it's, you look at different turning points in your life, and for me as a coach, it was, Carl Taylor had called me and said, well, I'd been released from my job in the Central Hockey League, and Carl said, well, why don't you come down here and work as my assistant? And, it was a short period of time, but it certainly was a turning point. And, having coached in Atlantic City when they were in the league in the ECHL and being able to come to the Sovereign Center, I know how strong the passion is for Royals hockey in Reading.
Well, Mark French, I want to thank you very much. Best of luck in Hershey. I look forward to maybe working together on a number of occasions over the course of the season. It ought to be a lot of fun.
No, well, I look forward to it as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark Thompson here with Ross Mahoney, he's Director of Amateur Scouting for the Washington Capitals. We're at the Kettler Washington Capitals Iceplex here in Arlington, Virginia. Big goings on here, prospect camp. Obviously, in your line of work, Ross, this is a huge day, I suppose, the first indoctrination for young players to the Capital system.
Yeah, it's a learning process for them to come here and learn both on and off the ice what's expected, kind of the Capital way of doing things, whether it's learning systems or learning how to train off the ice.
As a member of the Reading Royals, I want to say how happy we are to be now affiliated with the Washington Capitals and the Hershey Bears. Big developments in the history of the Reading Royals today.
Well, it's good. I know as an organization, we're really happy to be able to have the affiliation also. I think it's going to be a really good fit for ourselves and also for Reading.
One of the things we've been talking about, the geographic proximity between Washington and Hershey and Reading. Seems like that triangle there is going to work well for the prospects and for the teams, for guys with opportunities to move up, and for the scouts to get an opportunity to take a look at players as well.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think it benefits everybody, whether it's the coaches, like you said, or the scouts, even the fans. Everything is now in such close proximity, but a lot of times players get injured or get hurt, and maybe it's in the morning skate, and to be able to pull someone up from Reading right to Hershey, or from Hershey right to Washington, I think it really makes a lot of sense to be able to have the three different teams at the three levels so close to each other.
Here at the Kettler Capitals Iceplex today, obviously got prospects camps going on. Just the first couple of sessions this morning. As the Director of Amateur Scouting, are you seeing any future potential NHL stars today?
Well, I mean, we hope that a lot of them will turn out to be like that, but really it's just a matter of seeing where they're at right now and coming up almost, we could say, like a game plan for them for the next couple of years to see what they need to improve on and how we can get them up to be able to play in the NHL.
You made an interesting comment introducing the young boys to the way the Capitals do things, and I'm assuming that there's an organizational way of doing things, and I would anticipate that you'll look to Reading to follow the Capitals' way of doing things.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, our general manager George McPhee has a philosophy, and it carries right through the whole system of our organization. And especially too when players are getting pulled up and moving back and forth, you'd like them to be able to come up and be able to feel comfortable in playing the systems and being able to do the drills and learning what's at this time or even during training camp. That transition makes it so much easier at all three levels for the coaches and the players.
As Reading Royals playing against South Carolina Stingrays in the ECHL, we've been on the wrong end of some very good Capitals system goaltenders over the course of the last couple of years. Michael Neuwirth, Braden Holtby, Philip Grubauer. I'm assuming there are goaltenders aplenty in the system, and we may see one in Reading.
Yeah, we have some scouts that do a really good job at that, and then our goalie coaches David Pryor and Ole Kolzek have done a fantastic job. They're probably even better people than they are coaches, but they seem to be able to take these young players that we draft and make them into good professional hockey players. So they do a fantastic job.
Ross, I'm imagining as a Director of Amateur Scouting, we'll get an opportunity to see you perhaps in Reading, get an opportunity to come down and meet some of the fans there in Reading and maybe speak with them at that time.
Oh, you look forward to it. That would be great. Yeah, I'm just really glad we have that association now.
Ross Mahoney, Director of Amateur Scouting of the Washington Capitals, I want to thank you very much for spending time with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.